Every single person in Europe interacts with the food industry 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Food industry employs more people than any other sector. It shapes land use, water use, biodiversity, climate emissions, and public health simultaneously. And now it is under more pressure than at any point in the last century. Climate change is hitting agricultural productivity. Geopolitical tensions are disrupting fertilizer and feed supply chains. Soil degradation is reducing yields, and the European Union has legally binding targets to cut agricultural emissions, reduce pesticides use, cut food waste by half, and expand organic farming, all by 2030. This is not a niche sustainability topic. It is a system-level transformation of Europe's largest industry. And it is creating competence demand that the current workforce is nowhere near ready to meet. I am Anastasia, PhD in Sustainable Manufacturing, with experience in business development and leadership, founder of Green Swan and regulatory intelligence specialist for the green transition. Let me start with the bigger picture. The European Union food system feeds over 450 million people. It's central to economic development, employment, and well-being across every member state. It is also responsible for a significant share of Europe's greenhouse gas emissions, its water consumption, its land use, and its biodiversity loss. The environmental impact of the entire food supply chain from raw material extraction to end of life has increased by around 20% since 2010, not decreased, increased. Food waste alone, over 59 million tons per year in the European Union. That is 132 kilograms per person per year. More than half of it generated by households, you and me. A new European Union directive adopted in 2025 now sets legally binding targets for food waste reduction. And this is no longer voluntary ambition, it's a legally obligation for every member state. On the consumption side, unhealthy diets are one of the biggest contributors to the social and economic burden of obesity, overweight, and non-communicable disease in Europe. The food system is simultaneously a climate problem, a biodiversity problem, a public health problem, and an economic resilience problem at once. That is not a list of separate issues, it is one system, and it needs to transform at the same time on all of them. The food system is not just an environmental challenge, it is a geopolitical one as well. The European Union is heavily dependent on global markets for essential agricultural inputs like fertilizers, animal feed, certain commodities. That dependency became painfully visible during COVID-19. It became a crisis when Russia's invasion of Ukraine disrupted grain supplies, fertilizer prices spiked, and farmers across Europe faced input costs they couldn't absorb. Iran war added another layer of uncertainty, and the broader reconfiguration of global trade relations is now a permanent feature of the operating environment for food producers and processors across Europe. The question that was once theoretical, what happens if a key input is suddenly unavailable or unaffordable, has now been answered in practice, 3 times in 5 years. The European Union's response is a push toward more resilient, more locally grounded, more diversified food production systems. Crop diversification, agroecology, shorter supply chains, reduced dependency on synthetic fertilizers through better nutrition management, and biological alternatives. This creates demand for supply chain risk analysts, agricultural resilience specialists, and food system strategists who understand both the geopolitical landscape and the agroeconomic options for reducing exposure to it. Let me focus on food waste for a moment, because it's one of the clearest career signals in this entire sector. So, 59 million tons per year. Legally binding reduction targets now in place. And the challenge is not just at the farm or the factory. More than half of all food waste happens at the household level. That means solutions need to work across the entire value chain simultaneously. At the production stage, like better harvesting, sorting, and storage; in processing, smarter use of byproducts and circular processing technologies; in retail, better forecasting, portion sizes, labeling, but also at home, better consumer information, clearer date labeling, and easier storage. The European Union directive adopted in 2025 requires member states to develop national food waste prevention strategies, backed by evidence and tracked with measurable targets. That is not a bureaucratic exercise. It is a massive implementation project that requires people who can design measurement systems, build public-private partnerships, change consumer behavior at scale, and integrate digital tools into real food system operations. And none of those are single-function skills. They sit at the intersection of data, logistics, consumer behavior, policy implementation, and food science. There is a structural problem in the food value chain that most sustainability conversations avoid. Farmers produce the food, processors transform it, retailers sell it, and in many cases the profit distribution between these three groups is deeply unequal, with primary producers, the farmers and fishers, at the start of the chain capturing the smallest share. This matters for sustainability for a simple reason. If farmers cannot make a living from sustainable practices, they will not adapt them. And if sustainable farming costs more, which it often does, at least initially, but the price premium doesn't reach the producer, the transition stalls. The European Union is responding. The Common Agricultural Policy is shifting subsidies towards sustainable practices. Producer associations and cooperatives are being strengthened to increase bargaining power. Trade policy is being reoriented towards supply chain resilience and sustainability provisions. But implementing these changes require professionals who understand both the economics of food production and the policy instruments available to reshape them. So, agricultural economists, food system consultants, sustainable procurement specialists, rural developer advisors, these are roles that will grow significantly as this transition accelerates. Here is also a dimension of food system transformation that most professionals underestimate: the diet transition. Diets drive food systems. What people eat determines what gets grown, how land is used, how much water is consumed, and what carbon is emitted. And European diets, despite some shifts, remain heavily animal-based, with environmental impacts that the planet's boundaries cannot sustain at scale. The European Union is not telling people what to eat, but it is reshaping the food environment to make sustainable choices easier and more affordable, like sustainable public procurement for school meals and public institutions, improved food labeling, investment in alternative proteins and advanced fermentation, fiscal measures to make plant-based and locally produced food more price competitive. There is a new European Union directive on food waste that requires legally binding targets, and there will be mandatory sustainability requirements in public food procurement. The eco-design requirements, like the design requirements should be binding, not voluntary, is beginning to apply to food systems as well. For professionals in food marketing, public health, catering, retail, and institutional food service, the regulatory environment is changing, and the competence to navigate it, like understanding what can be claimed, what must be documented, how procurement criteria work, it is not yet widely present in these functions. Technology is reshaping the food system from multiple directions simultaneously. Precision agriculture, using sensors, satellite data, and AI to optimize irrigation, fertilizer use, and pest management at the individual field level. The environmental gains are significant: less water, less chemical input, same or better yield. Advanced fermentation and alternative proteins, producing protein from fungi, algae, insects, and cell-based processes. Still expensive, but costs are falling rapidly. The European Union is investing in scaling these technologies because they reduce land use, water use, and greenhouse gas emissions per gram of protein dramatically compared to conventional livestock. Digital traceability, like tracking food products from field to fork, enabling verification of sustainability claims, faster response to food safety incidents, and the data infrastructure needed for sustainable public procurement criteria. This is the food system equivalent of the digital product passport. And food waste reduction technology. AI-powered demand forecasting in retail, dynamic pricing for near-expired products, digital tools for consumers to track and reduce household waste. And each of these creates demand for professionals who can sit at the intersection of food science, digital systems, regulatory compliance, and commercial strategy, like food tech project managers, digital traceability specialists, alternative protein market developers, precision agriculture advisors, roles that barely exist at scale today. So, what does all of this create in terms of careers and competences? Sustainable agriculture advisor. Someone who works with farmers to transition to more sustainable practices, like crop diversification, agroecology, reduce synthetic inputs, soil restoration, understanding both the agronomic options and the financial support instruments available under the Common Agricultural Policy or national programs. Food System Supply Chain Risk Analyst. Mapping dependency on imported inputs, identifying alternative sourcing options, assessing exposure to geopolitical disruptions and climate-related agricultural risk. This role is emerging in food processors, retailers, and trading companies. Food waste reduction specialist, like designing and implementing food waste prevention programs across the value chain, from production through retail to consumer, working with digital tools, logistics optimization, labeling, and consumer behavior change, required by new European Union legal obligations at member state level. Sustainable public procurement specialist for food. As mandatory sustainability criteria enter public food procurement for schools, hospitals, governmental institutions, someone needs to design, implement, and verify those procurement frameworks. This role sits between public administration, food policy, and procurement. Alternative protein market developer. Building commercial pathways for plant-based, fermentation-derived, and cell-based proteins, understanding both the regulatory environment for novel foods and the commercial dynamics of consumer acceptance and pricing. Food traceability and data manager. Building and managing the digital infrastructure that traces food products across complex supply chains, enables sustainability verification, and supports compliance with labeling and procurement requirements. And 3 cross-cutting competences that run across all of this. First one, food systems literacy. Understanding how the different parts of the food value chain connect, where the environmental and economic pressure points are, and how policy instruments affect each part of the system. Regulatory intelligence in food and agriculture, the Common Agricultural Policy or Common Fishery Policy, food safety regulation, novel food regulation, labeling requirements, sustainability procurement criteria. These are complex and fast-changing. The professionals who can navigate them without waiting to be briefed will be trusted with more complex decisions. And behavior change and communication, because so much of the food transition depends on changing what people eat, how they shop, and how they handle food at home. And it is a professional competence that requires understanding of evidence-based behavior change design, food environments, and the policy instruments available to reshape them. Here is how to use this as a career signal. Pick your position in the food value chain, farming, processing, retail, food service, public procurement, policy, technology, and ask for questions. Which of the European Union's food system targets for emissions, pesticides, food waste, organic farming directly affects your sector or your clients? What does compliance with those targets require in terms of data, processes, supplier relationships, and communication? And where is the biggest capability gap between what your organizations can do today and what it will require to do by 2030? And which of the competences I described you already have today and which you don't? And the gap is your next move.